stage today. My name's Nicole. I'm a part-time bookseller here because Julie just got sick of seeing me come in and just sit here and buy stuff all the time. So she said that.
It works out well.
It does work out well. It does. So thank you for coming tonight. We are here for Confessions of a Grammar Queen, which I just in my shirt. I'm also an English teacher, so this was like so on brand for me. Yes. I love this book. So we have Eliza Knight. She's an award-winning and USA Today best-selling author whose works include The Mayfair Bookshop and The Queen's Faithful Companion, which has a dog in it too. This one I loved it. It was so good. Her love of history began as a young girl when she traipsed the halls of Versailles and ran through the fields of southern France. She can still remember standing before the great Golden Palace and imagining what life must have been like. I keep having to move this out, sorry. Her stories take on riveting historical journeys that cross landscapes around the world. Eliza will also publish her first contemporary women's fiction novel, Rush Week, next month under the pseudonym Michelle Brandon. We are going to be having the release party here on July 22nd at 7. That is on Eventbrite, so you can sign up for that. It's going to be lots of fun things, I hear, lots of games, so I'm really looking forward to that one. She's the creator of the popular historical blog History Undressed and a host on the History, Books, and Wine podcast. And she lives in Florida with her family. And she will be in conversation with Rebecca J. Sanford. She's the author of The Disappeared, which is your debut, correct? Looks very interesting, historical. It's Argentina, right? Yeah. Very good. It looks very good. I'm excited to read that one. Recipient of the Women's Fiction Writers Association Rising Star Award, the Florida Writers Association Royal Palm Literary Award, and the IPPY Award Gold Medal in Literary Fiction. She received her MA in International Affairs from the New School, originally from New York. Rebecca now lives in Florida with her family. So we will have their conversation for about 25 minutes. We'll open it up to questions, and then afterward, if you haven't purchased one or both of the books, you still can, and then they will each sign and personalize. Even if you have one of the ones that are pre-signed, they will personalize them for you. So,
thank you so much, Nicole.
Thank you.
For the live.
Okay. Oh, got it. Okay. You can hear me okay?
Yes.
Thank you so much, Nicole. Thank you, Julie, for having us, and thank you, Eliza, for inviting me to speak with you about this incredible book that I loved so much, and I know you all did too. So first and foremost, what inspired you to write the story, Confessions of a Grammar Queen?
So there were a number of things that inspired me, and also just reiterating my thanks as well, ladies, and thank you for joining me. Thank you guys for coming. Multiple things. So first things first, I was on a book tour for starring Adele Astaire in 2023. And that was like the beginning or maybe the middle of Taylor Swift's like Eras tour that everyone was going to like every day, and I was so jealous. So I was jamming out to the album while I was driving, and one of my favorite songs was The Man, which is a song basically that says, if I did this as a man, everyone would think I was cool, and if I did it as a woman, everyone would think I'm like vulgar or whatever. She says it way cooler than I'm saying it, but you get the point. And I thought that's so true. And I would love to write a character in history who, empowers other women to push forward in whatever path that might be. And so I was starting to think about like, well, what do I want to do? And I've always loved to write books about real people, but this time I wanted to switch to a fictional character. However, I did find two women that I thought were amazing in history and publishing that inspired Bernadette Swift's character. And one is Eleanor Gould Packard. She was known as the grammarian, and I borrowed that title for Bernadette in the book. And
you have to tell us more about it.
I definitely will. So Eleanor Gould Packard was a young copy editor in the 1950s in New York City, and she applied to work for the New Yorker, and they rejected her application. But she wasn't going to take no for an answer. She knew she was a good copy editor, and she wanted that job. So she went out to a newsstand, she picked up a printed copy of The New Yorker, took it home with her red pens, and copy edited that printed magazine. Right? Mic drop. And then she took it back to The New Yorker and she said, I've copy edited your magazine for you. Now can I have the job? And they were like, yes.
How badass.
Right?
That, yes.
Seriously. So I gave Bernadette a little bit of a mic drop moment, sort of like that as well in the book. The second person is Phyllis E. Grant. She's actually still alive. And originally I had her as Bernadette's best friend in the book, but my agent who knew Phyllis was like, you can't, she's still alive. So I was like, okay, good point. So I changed her name in the book. But she was the first female CEO of a publishing house, which is what Bernadette wanted to accomplish as her goal in the book. She wasn't the first female CEO until 1987, however, because it took that long for a woman to gain that position in publishing. Ironically, back in the day, publishing was mostly a male-dominated profession, and now it's pretty switched. It's a lot of women at the top. And my publisher of this book is actually owned by a woman, so that's pretty awesome as well. And yeah, so then there's one other thing in the book that inspired me, and it's the dog chapters, Frank. And I always start this off by saying I met this dog in a bar, because that's actually how it happened. I was visiting my daughter who went to the Ohio State University, and we were out for just drinks and dinner, and this dog walks into the bar by himself, a giant Great Dane, and everyone's like, oh, hey, Frank, what's up?
It's a real Frank.
It's a real
Somewhere
Frank.
in Ohio.
He's
That's
real.
great.
And they're like, do you want some fries? Do you want some water? And Frank is like, of course. And he's just taking fries and drinking sips of people's water, and I was like, what is happening right now? Where's the owner of this
I
dog?
feel like we need to see a picture.
Right?
Of the
I
real Frank,
have a
yes.
picture.
Yeah. Oh, amazing.
So it turns out he had an owner, but the owner was outside at the outside area with the other Great Dane who was working that crowd for snacks. And I just fell in love with this dog, and I was currently writing the Queen's Faithful Companion, and I loved writing this, the point of view of Susan the Corgi in that book, so I thought, you know what? I'm having so much fun with this dog. And that dog is a character.
Yeah.
He deserves to have his own part in the book, so that's how Frank
I feel like even in that little snippet that you gave us of the real Frank, I feel like we saw that in the book. Like his personality really came out, and that was such a unique. It was giving me lessons in chemistry for sure, but then it just kind of unfolded. So I loved that.
He was a boss.
That's great. That's great. Okay, so we know inspired by, partially by Taylor Swift song, and two badass women who are willing to make corrections with their awesome, amazing. This is like, I mean, I feel like there's been so many women like that in history that are just, so understated, so below the radar, and they're just existing there. So feeling that breakout is so satisfying. It's so charming, it's so fun, but this is like a real issue, and it's especially because of when you said it, sexism in the workplace, and some of the stuff is just infuriating. So how did you blend that with the right level of levity and seriousness? Tell us a little bit about that process.
That was really hard, and a lot more of the humor came with subsequent drafts, because at first it was a little bit depressing. Yeah. I mean, when you read the book, her boss and coworkers are not nice. And in fact, one of the coworkers, she was really, really not nice at all and really tried to undermine her a lot. And in my original draft, she stayed that way. But I was like, you know what? She needs to be nice by the end. So we did a little tweaking there. But the thing is, when the book takes place in 1963, it's when the Equal Pay Act has just been put into place, which says that women should be paid equally. They have equal opportunity in the workplace. But men didn't care about that. They were like, so what? I'm not giving it to you. And it was a lot like, the Mad Men era. Sexism was just there. Women didn't have maternity leave. Basically, if you had a baby in the 50s and 60s, you stopped working. And so that was just really ridiculous as well. But it wasn't so hard to use a lot of the sexism things that happened, because unfortunately, I've experienced a lot of that stuff in the workplace, or I've talked to people who experienced all of that stuff now or back then. And so having those conversations, I was like, I really want to put this on the page. And then I wanted Bernadette to obviously be affected by it negatively, but also be like, you know what, screw that. I'm going to step it up here, and, I'm not going to let that, undermine me. It's not going to hold me back. I have goals that I want to reach. And Bernadette's personality also is a little bit humorous. So I think the way I was able to balance it is by having a character who is serious, but also doesn't take things 100% seriously. So she, compares people to animals a lot, and you get a lot of animal talk in there. And then she has her own sort of mic drop moments. Like there's a moment in the book where the men, they're always stealing her stuff and hiding it or ruining things for her. And they ruined one thing. They wrote something really vulgar on it. And she was, she could have thrown it in the trash and gone to the bathroom and cried and gone home early. But instead she was like, you know what? I'm not going to let you just talk like that to me. And she talks right back, and they're kind of like mouth open, like, whoa, she knows how to stand up for herself. And it's a funny scene, but also like serious, if you know what I mean.
It is, and then it also brings a little humor.
Yeah.
Because she has that inner strength and she can kind of defy against it too. So that's awesome. Well, you did a great job on it.
Thank you.
So, tell us a little bit about the Feminist Book Club. Yes.
So also during my book tour for Starring Adele Astaire, I was in New York City, and I did a tour of New York Public Library because I just love that library so much. So any chance I get, I go. And I was walking through it, and I was there pretty late, so they were getting ready to close, and I thought, oh, wouldn't it be interesting if there was like an after hours like book club? And I was like, I will put this in my book. Except there isn't, so they had to sneak in. So they, become friends with the janitor.
That's the best thing about writing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That just made it happen. But the book club is full of women from all walks of life. There's nurses, housewives, people in publishing. There's a young lawyer whose name is Ruth, and she may or may not be Ruth Bader Ginsburg. I don't say, but her history is pretty similar. And an artist, and so they all get together. They read these feminist books that are about womanhood, books that are about their body, books that are about just all sorts of things, and then they talk about it, and it gives them a chance to have conversations about things that they might not necessarily be able to talk about with anyone else in their family or in public or whatnot. And I kind of think of it like what happens at book club stays at book club. So they really have a good time doing that and getting to know each other, but also to empower each other to, say, I'm not making dinner tonight, or, actually I do want to run in that race, and you can't tell me I'm not allowed to run in that race, which at the time women couldn't run in races, and one of them loves running. And then, I'm going to ask for that promotion, or I'm not making coffee tomorrow, it's not my job. And then they also have a few things that they do to entice other people, not just in the book club, to join them. So they have a little confessional at a local cafe where they get to talk about things that have happened at work, but also things they might have done at work that aren't very nice. And it's an empowering group of women to lift each other up.
Yeah, it really becomes like this underground, almost like resistance movement or something, like coming together and getting power from each other. So I love that. Was super effective. I loved that. Okay, the whole book is kind of centered around grammar. So what do you have favorite grammatical moments?
So one of my favorite grammatical moments I'll get to in a minute, and that was my own copy editor. But I had to
You got caught out there. Yeah.
It's scary.
Grammar without getting caught.
Right, I basically said, hey, challenge, and she was like, hold my beer, and went to town. But so I had, as a writer, and you're a writer, so you know this, we know some stuff, right?
Yeah.
But I'm not a copy editor. I don't know all the things, and they still, ding me for lots of things.
M dashes. I love M dashes.
They're my favorites.
My favorite. Apparently too many.
I know,
Yeah.
and I don't know about commas because, they say, put a comma where you take a breath. Well, I take a lot of breaths because I do a lot of thinking while I'm talking. I'm like, that's comma. That's so bad. So, and the dangling modifier is my nemesis because when they say it, I'm like, oh yeah. And then the next book, I'm like, what's a dangling modifier? I don't know. I'm just putting them everywhere. So there was a lot of that. So I read this really amazing book, which I think everyone, if you like grammar, should read if you haven't already. And it's called, oh my gosh, Between You and Me. And the subtitle is Confessions of a Comma Queen, which is where I was like, ooh, Confessions of a Comma Queen, that's so cool. Confessions of a Grammar Queen, that's my title.
Very cool.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. So that book was funny. It was hilarious. She had a lot of great stories about being a copy editor, but then also there's, copy editing tips in there as well. So I learned a lot, and then I learned a lot about the history of publishing as well. She has a lot of anecdotes in there, which I really enjoyed. So highly recommend that book. But back to the copy editing mic drop moment of my own copy editor. Um, so, you know, I turned in my book and I was really expecting to have an intense copy edit afterwards, because you can't say to a copy editor, you know, this character is a copy editor, an expert in her field. She's known as being Swift-proof. She's the grammarian. She's like amazing, and then not get like a read book back. And so that's what happened. I opened the email. My editor says, well, if you need an extra week on this, let us know. She really took her job seriously. And I was like, oh, I don't want to open it. So I did open it, and I was like, it's like red and like all these notes. And I was like, oh my goodness. So I immediately wrote back and said, I'm going to need that extra week. This is going to take me a little while. But she actually had amazing notes. And the thing that I found really lovely about it is that she took her job so seriously that like everything that she corrected, she wrote like a paragraph about why she did it.
Amazing.
And like,
Yes.
I was like, this is so cool. Like she really had fun with it, which was really like inspiring for me as well. So that's like my best grammar moment.
Yes. Did you have a worst?
I don't think so. I don't think so.
Yeah, I mean, totally worth it to spend a week.
Yeah,
Making
it
sure
was.
It's perfect,
Yeah.
right, for a book that's...
And everything she said made sense.
Right.
So if you find anything in the book that's not correct, don't.
It's too late. It's
out there.
for
It's
someone else
printed.
to redline.
Yes.
Exactly. So set in the 1960s, and you mentioned Mad Men, and that definitely came into my mind too a lot when we were talking about just the workplace and the realities. What, in your research, because I'm sure you did, it sounds like already, just with labor laws and things like that, you've done a lot of research. What surprised you the most about the 1960s setting?
So some things I say, like, they surprised me, but they really didn't. I'd be like, what, really? I guess that makes sense.
Yeah.
So one of those was that there was no maternity leave. I was like, wow, really? And nowadays we still only have technically, I think it's 6 weeks or something insane like that. So it's like, I'm surprised that not a lot has changed.
Yeah, yeah.
And then I was surprised to find out that women couldn't have a credit card until like 1974 or something like that. That's insane. And then I had, Bernadette had an apartment in the city, and I found out from a friend who was reading it who was familiar with the time period that she wouldn't have just like gone and gotten her own apartment in the city. She had to have a man co-sign with her. And in my book, her parents don't necessarily support her living in the city. It's one of the reasons that her brother gave her the dog so that she would be safe and they would feel more comfortable. So her brother is the one who co-signs for her. And it can be a brother. It just has to be someone who's a man.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy?
It is crazy, and it's like you watch all those old movies and you're like, why doesn't she just move out and get her own place? You know, and you're like, oh, yeah, she literally couldn't do that. Yeah.
It's so unfair. And like, it's literally 60-some years ago that this is happening. No, like the credit card, like 50 years ago. Like it's crazy. So there was a lot of stuff like that where it's like, wow, that's insane. But also, that like I guess I shouldn't like think it's that crazy because like you said, they're not moving out. Like where are they going to go?
Like we haven't come far enough.
Right.
Kind of
Yeah.
sentiment. Yeah. That's interesting. Yeah.
The weather agrees.
Somebody
Yes,
has something
exactly.
to say about that.
It's
Mother
like,
Nature.
oh, no.
Right. You're like, that's right. That's great. So true. So I think we talked about this already, but I was going to ask you about the theme song.
Oh,
so
yes.
if you had a theme song for us, so I think I know
It's
the
the
answer to
man.
that. Yeah.
But the other one that I really love is Dolly Parton's 9 to 5.
Oh my
Oh, yes, that's so perfect for
It's
this
such
one.
a good
Yes.
song, yeah. So, and I had a lot of fun, like listening to 1960s music. When I was growing up, my really good friend and I, we would like blast music from the 60s. And when I was growing up, it was called the Oldies Station. And I wonder now, like, is the Oldies Station
It's like the 90s.
I was gonna say,
Yes. Yes.
But we would like blast it on the way to school, and then as soon as we pulled into like the high school parking lot, we were like, turn it down, turn it down. We don't want anyone to know that we were like jamming out to this. So it was fun to like listen to it and like
Get into the era.
Yeah, get into the era,
Yes.
add the songs. I had a lot of fun.
That's
with
really
that.
cool.
Yeah,
That's really cool. It's such a fun one too.
yeah.
So, one last question. What do you, I mean, Bernadette rewrites literally and figuratively the rules in many ways in this book. So what do you hope that readers come away with as the message from this story?
I think one of my biggest messages is just that you don't have to live by the rules as long as you're doing things legally. I think don't do anything criminally. But one thing is like you can write your own rules, or you can rewrite the rules that someone says you should do. But also like think about the women around you and how can you lift each other up, or has there been anyone in your life that has lifted you up, and how can you like pay it forward? Yeah. I think that's like my best message about the book is just to think about each other and how we can keep going forward and keep lifting each other up.
Yeah. And stronger together in that way too. Yeah, I love that. I love that. Eliza, this is such an awesome book. Thank you so much for writing it. Should we take some questions?
Sure.
Have any questions?
I have one. How is AI impacting your field? Since we can all go on the computer.
Yeah. It's so funny. Pretty much every chat I've done over the last 2 weeks, that's been one of the questions. So it's impacted a lot. So for example, there was this big article with The Atlantic, and authors could type their name into the search engine and find out if their books were used to train AI. When I type in my name, it says 113 titles used to train AI. So that sucks. There's that. And then the other thing is it's a lot of people are like starting to use it to write books. I guess I shouldn't say a lot, but I have heard that a lot of people are doing it. And there was a book that came out, I think last week, that the author was like bragging about having used AI to help write it. And I think that's terrible. The reason that I am a writer is because I love to write and create, and I don't think that if I were to use a computer to create things for me, that would be me creating it anymore. So I find that to be not great. But it can be really good for certain things. Like, for example, I wish I had known about this. So my friends have been telling me you can use it for like research. It's kind of like Google. Obviously, you have to double check. But I spent 3 days trying to figure out what coffee maker they would use in the office, and I could have just typed into there apparently what coffee maker would they have used in a 1960s office, and then it probably would have told me in 3 seconds instead of literally the 3 days I spent looking for it. And then I didn't even find it. I ended up finding it by accident. I had been watching Mad Men to see if I could find one. I saw one. I was like, that looks weird. I don't know what that is. And then I was watching Only Murders in the Building, and Martin Short was at the piano guzzling from the same coffee maker I'd seen in Mad Men with a straw. And I was like, oh my gosh, okay, that's a sign. I'm going to just use it. And that's what's in the book. But so you can use it like that if you're talking about like ChatGPT. Things like Grammarly are great for plugging in chapters to pull up like grammar and spell check sorts of things. They have an AI rewrite option, which I would never click on, but I have used Grammarly to be like, okay, clean this up before I send it to my copy editor. But yeah, I think it's going to do a lot of things. There's going to be people that just use it to write, and then there's going to be people that use it as a tool to, say, help with research, or I know I have a friend who has used it recently. She was just telling me about it at a book chat on Saturday for, she was looking for inanimate objects that people use, body parts, like, the handle clock or like the foot of a stool, something like that. So I think you can use it as a resource, but yeah, it's a dangerous thing, I feel like, for artists.
Yeah, I think, just to add for what it's worth, because I think what you mentioned about using it as a resource is super helpful, and I've done that before, where you may have this completely aside plot line where you need the names of 3 different people that work for medical tech companies. They all have to be fictional, and it's like, rather than spending all your time on that. But I think real writers, like you said, they write because they love to write. It's like, I know a man that carves toys out of wood, and they're beautiful. And it's not like you can't go and buy toys. You can do things, but if you do it because it's something that's more artisanal, it's something you love for the craft, and you can kind of see that in the craftsmanship of it too, I think, with books. So you certainly could use AI to write books, and I think the quality is a little different.
Yes.
But it's an incredible tool, very disruptive for sure. So.
Yeah. Definitely laughing at it, because there was the newspaper article that somebody at the Chicago Times or something wrote. That they used AI to write a newspaper article about upcoming books to read for summer.
Summer reading list.
And some of the books did not exist. So it's fallible. It's
totally fallible.
You can't, and it takes the humanity out of it. emotion, which
It's a machine. It just cannot evoke emotion that.
I did use it to turn Shakespeare into common teenage slang.
Oh my gosh, that's
Romeo
hilarious.
and Juliet, which
That's
was
great.
super helpful in high school and it was super funny.
That is.
That
actually sounds like it would be a fun exercise.
It was, we read the regular Shakespeare, Romeo and Juliet, and then I said, okay, now we're gonna read it as if it was written today.
It's awesome.
That
That is fun. Yeah, it's a great use case.
Any questions? Anybody else?
So I know you're prolific because Madeline bragged about how prolific you are, and you just said something like 113 titles. So how many books have you written?
Well, according to The Atlantic, 113. Well, maybe 116 because I have 2 that I just turned in and then this one. So, but I don't think it's really that many. I think it's like 100.
So you just crank out one per
One
week?
an hour.
Yeah. Like tell us about, I'm really curious about your back. I know you're from Maryland, which so is Bernadette. I'm curious if you're from a farm as Bernadette. But yeah, how did you get started? How do you write that many books?
So, I'm not from a farm. I grew up in the suburbs, but my parents did have a farm that wasn't I guess my dad did have cows for a little while. He was really into it, but it was a hobby because he was a doctor too. So kind of like Bernadette's dad, he's a doctor but he lives on a farm. Or he's a veterinarian and lives on a farm. And we used to go there for all the holidays and long weekends, and it was really, really fun to do that. But so I got my start writing pretty young. I self-published my own title in 2nd grade, and my teacher told my parents I'd be an author, and then I was I had a story printed in a charity anthology by 3rd grade, and but I went into journalism. So in high school, I was editor of my high school paper. I had my own column. I went to college for 2 years for journalism before I switched majors because it was so factual. I was like, this is so boring.
Yeah.
And ironically, I spent a number of years writing biographical fiction, which is so factual. So, ironic. But my first story, it was a novella, was published in 2008. So of those 113 titles, probably maybe 20 are novellas. And when I was writing romance, it was 7 to 8 titles a year for a number of years. Wow. It's quick. That's how you keep readers and romance readers love to read romance people like to eat, popcorn. They're oh, give me that, So you just have to keep up, and they'll read your book and they're okay, so where's the next one? You're I just finished that one. Yeah, so I did that for a number of years.
And is it under which name?
It's under Eliza Knight too.
Okay.
Yeah, so if you pull up Eliza Knight on the internet, you'll see some Scottish romance mixed in with these titles.
Okay.
Yeah. I have another one last Scottish romance for right now coming out later this year, and it's my Scottish version of Emma. So that will be fun. Cool. But so I usually write now about 3 a year. Yeah. I'm fortunate I get to write full time, so it's I do it every day. Well, 5 days a week. I try not to work weekends.
Yeah.
That is prolific.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever met. Never met anybody that prolific with writing.
It's a blessing and a curse because when you when your editor says, "Oh, you can write a book in 4-6 months," and you're yeah, and then because you're yeah, and you're proud of it, and they're great, so we're gonna need this book in 6 months, and then you're wait, that's not what that's not. I was proud of myself, and now you're torturing me.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's how I got stuck with 2 books due literally the week before this book came out.
Yeah.
Are you a plotter or a pantser?
Oh, I am 100% a plotter, an insane plotter. Madeline Martin, my best friend, likes to say that, because her and I have very similar personalities, that we're so type A, we're Times New Roman 12-point font. And that is true. I am also known as this queen of spreadsheets in the industry. So every one of my books has its own spreadsheet insanity with little tags for every character, little historical details that outline all the arcs and chapters, lay out it. So I pretty much know everything that's happening before I even start.
Wow.
Yeah.
Are all the books
with the same publisher?
No, this is with Source Books. My biographical fictions, some are with William Morrow and some are with Lake Union. And my contemporaries are with Avon, which is also HarperCollins. And I have some Scottish romance with Source Books, and then I have a lot that are indie published. I have my own imprint. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Mm.
Do you want to give us a little bit about your new book coming out in
Next month?
Yeah.
Yes. And then I'll tell you.
Oh my God, we're almost down to July.
Yes. And then I want to tell you about my book that's coming out next year too,
Yes.
because that's another 1960s book, and that one's I just finished it, so I'm really excited. So my book that comes out next month is called Rush Week. It is very different from anything by Eliza Knight. It's like two totally different personalities, like Mr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. So whoever is the nice one, that's Eliza, and Michelle is not nice. Her characters are anti-heroines. They're performative. They're mean girls. The book is really like Mean Girls meets White Lotus. It's a revenge novel. It's very juicy, very scandalous. My editor, when I turned in the first, the pitch and the first, I think 4 or 5 chapters, she was like, "This is awesome, but go harder, like make it worse." And I was like, "Okay." So that's that book. I'm really excited about it. It's totally different, like I said, but it was really fun to write. There's a lot of, gosh, I never remember the actual names of the generations. Is it Gen Z that are like the teenagers that are on TikTok right now?
They're below millennials.
Yeah. So there's some Gen Z language in there, and I had my my oldest daughter did the read through for me because the characters are in college part of the book. So I had to make sure that I actually sounded like I knew what I was, like I was a person that was 18. And there were a number of moments where she's like, "Wow, you sound like a woman in her 40s, and no college person would say this." So that was fun, but great because now I know the book actually matches. And then my middle daughter is in college and in a sorority, and her sorority sisters have read it and loved it. So that was cool, like really good. So that comes out next month, and I'll be here, and we're gonna play fun games, and there'll be a couple prizes. And so then next summer in June, right now on Goodreads it says June 9th, I think, but it's there's no pre-order yet, so hopefully it says that. I like that date. But it's called Lost in the Summer of '69. There's no cover yet, although I have seen the cover, and you guys, they again nailed the cover. So excited. But it's generational story. So there's 3 points of view, a grandmother, a mother, and the third point of view is from a young woman who's just the daughter. She's graduated high school, and she's going to be the first class of women at Yale. And grandma is just had her 69th birthday, and she's diagnosed with early stage dementia. And she thinks, if I'm going to lose my memories, I am going to relive my youth. And she was known in her youth as the belle of wartime music. But she gave up her musical career to raise a family, as most women did in that era. But she's thinking, I'm a widow. I'm going out. It's the summer of '69, and apparently there's all these music festivals going on. I'm gonna go sing on stage. And she blows it out of the park and is named the Dame of Rock and Roll. Meanwhile, her daughter has come to pick her up for dinner, and her mom's not home because she didn't tell anyone she was going on this little journey. And so she calls the police. They're like, "Your mom's a grown woman. She can go wherever she wants." And so she's like rifling through the house trying to figure out if she can find her mom, if she's left a clue, something like that. And she finds a list that doesn't make sense to her, but her daughter is like, "Oh, I just saw all that in Rolling Stone. Those are music festivals, but why would she be going to a music festival?" So they end up going on a road trip to find grandma, and they end up hearing her sing a couple times, but they're always like one step behind. Like she runs off stage and like gets in the van with the band and like takes off. So they end up meeting up with her in Woodstock, and they get to hear her play one last time before summer's over and life has to continue. But it was so fun to write that.
This is like a 1960s treat.
Yes.
I can't wait for this one.
That's
Sounds
a
so good.
playlist, right?
Oh yeah. There already is one that I've created.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I do have another question. Where do you get all your ideas from?
So my brain never shuts up. That's pretty much the thing. It's like keeps me up at night. I'll wake up in the middle of the night. I'm like, oh, but what if blah, blah, blah? Or I'm like driving and I'm like, oh, I should do this. And then I miss my exit because my brain just starts like writing everything. So there's that part, but also just real life. Like I love watching documentaries, whether they're historical or modern day. I love to read a lot, and I read all genres, and I love to read nonfiction. So I just get a lot of my ideas from like real life. And one of the things I always like joke about is that with history, there's so much drama and craziness in history that like sometimes you just can't even make it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.